I felt like I wanted to talk a little bit about Star Wars. The last movie, for some reason I feel like there'll probably be more, but the ninth movie in the saga came out 2 months ago now, and I enjoyed it. So I am one of the weird Star Wars fans that likes all 9 movies. For some reason, it's really cool to be a Star Wars fan that hates Star Wars, but I am not one of those fans. I enjoyed the original trilogy. I was born in 1971, so I was 6 when the first movie came out, and by all accounts, George Lucas was making his movies for people in the 6 to 8 age range, was kind of his goal, and so I loved Star Wars from the beginning. The neighbors had all the action figures. We didn't buy all the action figures, but I enjoyed playing with their stuff. One of my neighbors, when Empire came out, he had created this little device that when he moved his fingers, it like triggered a bunch of mechanics in his arm, so it looked like he had the robotic hand at the end of Empire. Really immersed in it. The original trilogy. Then the prequels came out, and I had kind of a different experience. I got to go to the original Star Wars Celebration here in Denver, Colorado, and so I got to see Star Wars from the creator's standpoint. I got introduced to Episode 1 by the people who made Episode 1. The first scene from the movie that I actually saw was the Darth Maul fight at the end. Obviously, they didn't show us the whole thing. They showed enough of that scene, and Ray Park was actually there and did a few of his stunts, and seeing some of the things that he did live and realizing that Jar Jar was the only character that was CGI. Darth Maul, none of those stunts were created with computers. Those were all actual stunts, and one of the reasons why Ray Park played that role, he was hired as the stunt coordinator for Episode 1, and none of the other stunt people could actually accomplish any of the stunts that he'd come up with, and so they decided to just cast him as Darth Maul. Knowing where computers were at the time and seeing Jar Jar as a computer creation, I had a huge appreciation for who Jar Jar was, what Jar Jar represented in the technical world. They didn't have all of the things in place for motion capture and stuff like that, and so as a computer science teacher at the time, I really loved Episode 1. Episode 2, yes, I agree with everybody that dialogue-wise it had flaws, but really the original Star Wars, the whole whining about, I was going to go meet my friends at Tashi Station and pick up some power, that's not good dialogue either, okay? We loved the movie because of the special effects. We weren't watching the movie for the dialogue, people. We loved characters that said things like yub yub. And so all the hate that the prequels get, I've never really understood. If you put a love story into Star Wars, which we knew it was going there, we have a pair of twins that we need to explain where they came from. So we knew that a love story was going to be in there, and you know, it wasn't supposed to be the greatest love story ever told. It was a Star Wars love story. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. One of the things that I've always loved about the Star Wars movies is the music. 5th grade when I started playing trombone, and and so grew up really learning music at the same time that Star Wars music was really popular. The original series introduced all sorts of really cool music, but one of the reasons why I like the prequels so much is because they actually take the original themes from the Star Wars movies and make them prequel music. They make them themes that would later build into the themes that we knew and loved. Knew and loved, yes. And so, for example, we've got Anakin's theme. So, Anakin's theme was its own theme, but if you listen to that theme, it's really playing around with the notes of it's that same feel. It's in a different key. It jumps around a lot. But watching the prequels and seeing Anakin's theme as it gradually goes from this, lighthearted into what becomes the Imperial March. The progression as they showed it in the prequels just really came together in some really cool ways. Episode 3 is probably my favorite movie in the entire 9-movie series, just because of how it blended the music of the prequels with the original trilogy. I just really loved hearing that musically. When 7, 8, and 9 started to come out, 7 didn't strike me as being all that great, especially because musically it wasn't as developed. It wasn't as strong. Specifically with Rey's theme, we have and it hopped around. It didn't really have a melody. It kind of fit with her character and that she was flighty and stuff. But when it got to episode 9, this movie that just came out, everybody was talking about all of the different things that were going to happen in this movie. And they even talked about how the Emperor was back, which really didn't make sense. And I was like, how are they going to do this? There's just so many questions, so much going on. And so it turns out that the thing that I really didn't like about the new trilogy was these themes that didn't really attach to the other themes in the movie. Well, all of a sudden, I'm sitting there watching episode 9, listening to Rey's theme, listening to all this stuff. The Emperor shows up on the screen, and what do we hear? So, Rey's theme it's literally the same notes as the Emperor's theme. We should have known that there was a tie between Rey and the Emperor. We should have seen that. We should have seen it a mile. I should have seen it coming. The part that I loved about Anakin's theme and how it was tied to the Imperial March, how they just flow together, he just did that backwards. John Williams took the Emperor's theme and made it light and fluffy going forward instead of starting light and fluffy and moving towards the Imperial March. So episode 9 I absolutely loved, probably for different reasons than anybody else that's seen the movie. But I did love it. I loved it musically. I loved the storyline. But again, I'm one of those weird Star Wars fans that actually likes all 9 movies. Imagine that. And I also liked Solo and Rogue One, just to throw that in there. It's funny because since the movie came out, I've been hearing all these released, this is how it was supposed to go if Carrie Fisher hadn't died kind of thing. We found this original script and blah 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 of how this movie was going to come together. Things that the Emperor wasn't supposed to be related to Rey. You know, they made that up as they were writing the script for 9. I have music that says otherwise. So, thanks for watching. Every month I'm hoping to come up with something where I'm talking a little bit more directly at the camera instead of just vlogging my life, and so this is kind of an experiment. If you like this kind of idea, as they say, give it the big thumb. I don't know. Subscribe. No. But come back. Thanks.